Thor Ragnarok is directed by Taika Waititi, the guy behind Hunt for the Wilder People, one of my favorite movies of 2016, I believe it came out. And it stars Chris Hemsworth, Cate Blanchett, Mark Ruffalo, Anthony Hopkins, Tom Hiddleston, Carl Urban, Jeff Goldblum. I need the glasses for that. Do you have some dino DNA? Because you see, it's the law of nature. If you put Jeff Goldblum in a Marvel movie, that's chaos theory. We also got Tessa Thompson, and I won't mention them, but there's a lot of cameos, or at least a few very choice, fantastic cameos in this that are very surprising, and I did not expect at all. And in this movie, the God of Thunder himself, Thor, the mighty Thor, he's trying to prevent Ragnarok, the destruction of Asgard. He ends up imprisoned on a distant planet run by Jeff Goldblum. The God of Thunder over there, he ends up meeting up with his old friend the Hulk, and so they end up buddying up and go on their buddy adventure trying to stop Hela, played by Cate Blanchett, the latest Marvel villain, the badass who wants to take over Asgard and wipe a bunch of people out. And what is she? She's the Asgardian god of death, so she's there to fuck shit up. And I'll say, I was pretty excited for this movie. Thor himself, the God of Thunder. Do you like my hammer? I bought it just for the review. Truth be told, if the movie sucked, I probably would have just sat here for like 5 minutes bashing myself with this thing until I died or bled out and hemorrhaged. But thankfully, the movie's amazing and I don't have to, but I mean, I could do it anyway. Yes, I would chalk this up as another fantastic movie from Marvel. They've had a pretty damn good year. I adored Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Did I maybe overrate it a little bit in my review? A+? I don't know, I dig both those movies quite a bit. Maybe I'm a little kind to them more than I should be, but whatever. And Spider-Man Homecoming wasn't amazing, but it was alright. And The Defenders was a pretty damn good show, which I realized I haven't reviewed yet. I should get on that. And this is the third Thor movie, and to talk about the previous two, I did reviews for them back in the day, I do believe. The original Thor, I think, is actually a pretty good movie. It's pretty underrated. It's a lot of fun. It's like a romantic comedy with Thor in it. And it was also very Shakespearean, directed by Kenneth Branagh, and it made sense. And then the sequel was like kind of generic and terrible, but I enjoyed it when I first saw it, and then like returning to it, I was like, oh yeah, it kind of sucks. But I was very excited for this one because I do love Thor. I love Chris Hemsworth's portrayal as Thor. He's always been a lot of fun, and he's evolved a lot in the character, and this one you see that the most, the evolution. It's pretty easy to see those original Shakespearean type roots or vibe that character had in the original movie. That's all gone now. It's a lot closer to a Guardians of the Galaxy type movie, which is not a bad thing by any means, and I think it's only a positive, and really, that's probably why this is the best Thor movie. And as I was saying, Chris Hemsworth as Thor is fantastic. This one, he gets to change it up a lot. He gets a haircut. He's looking pretty badass, and he's just a lot of fun. This is the most comedic Thor's ever been, and it's just overall a very comedic movie. And it really works quite well. Not every joke's gonna hit, and sometimes it does have that Marvel effect of sometimes undercutting a serious type moment with jokes, where it's like, you could play it seriously, but they gotta keep throwing jokes, and so consequently, you can't take the movie as serious as you might want to. Sometimes it feels a little too light for its own good. But, I mean, 90% of the time, it's really funny and entertaining, so it's hard to hate on it for that. And yeah, Chris Hemsworth is really funny as Thor. He has a lot of great jokes, he's also a badass, and he has some good dramatic moments, some heartfelt moments. It's like they sprinkle in just a little bit of heart on this comedy, but nonetheless, there is some of it there if you look for it. And all the returning people are really good. Tom Hiddleston as Loki, fantastic as ever, always a scene stealer, wonderful. This asshole brother, it's like you want him to be redeemed because there's a good person in there, but he's also just a dick, and he's always out for himself. And so I was like, I want to like you, but you're pushing me away, but I still like you anyway as a nice anti-hero. Mark Ruffalo's back as the Hulk, and the Hulk's always been a fan favorite. He's always been a scene stealer, he's always been fantastic, and we get a lot of Hulk here. And he's also, like, pretty much every character is really funny. The Hulk is a lot of fun in this movie. Very enjoyable. The most realistic the Hulk has ever looked. Obviously, it's the most recent one. It just makes sense. It's just great to see the Hulk again. He looks a little bit different. He's got a new haircut. He's a lot more comedic, but it's good. I want to see the Hulk smash it. We get a lot of Hulk. It's very satisfying. And having Hulk and Thor just as buddies, like enemies at first, they gotta fight each other, but eventually just to be like a buddy movie. It's the Thor and Hulk. It's Thor's movie, but it becomes a teen movie where Thor and Hulk are just hanging out. That's the magic of the Marvel Universe. It's so interconnected that you can have that where it's like, for the third Thor movie, it's like not a buddy cop, but a buddy superhero team-up film of sorts. That's fun. It's really enjoyable. It never feels like Hulk's trying to hijack Thor's movie. It's just like Hulk is a magical and amazing ingredient in this new Thor movie that just works incredibly well and makes it like a lot more interesting and just changes it up to make it so much more entertaining and fun. Anthony Hopkins is back as Odin in a very brief role. The best... It occurred to me in the theater when I was watching, I'm like, they're doing like a Return of the Jedi with him. I won't exactly explain what that means. When you see the movie, you get it. But they Return of the Jedi Anthony Hopkins. And he's good in it. He's not in the movie too much, but he's pretty good in it. Idris Elba's also here in a small role. He's really good. But then we got some of the new people, the newcomers. Cate Blanchett as the villain. Cate Blanchett is a fantastic actress, and her character, it's nice that they gave her some motivation. She isn't the total generic crappy Marvel villain, but she could have been better because it's Cate Blanchett, an actress of incredible talent. They could have given her more, but with what they did give her, she does really well with the material given. But she's given enough, like she's fleshed out as a villain and as a character to have motivations to make you at least somewhat interested in why she wants to do what she does. And she's good. She's a great actress. And then Jeff Goldblum, the guy's just a cinematic force. Every time he shows up, a movie gets better. He's just so much fun in this. He's really hilarious, and it's Jeff Goldblum in a Marvel movie. You can't go wrong with that. And Tessa Thompson, also fantastic, really good. I hope to see her in more, I don't know, Thor movies, Avenger movies, whatever, but I like her. Her and Thor play off each other very well. She's great as this potential ally to Thor, but also potential enemy. She's riding that line. She doesn't know where she wants to go. She's really good. And as this is a Marvel movie, yes, it's very comedic, it's very fun, very entertaining, but I think this movie can also be credited for being incredibly dark at times. The material, the subject matter of Ragnarok, the idea of the destruction of Asgard that's trying to be prevented, what the villain Cate Blanchett's playing, her overall goals and what she's doing. Like, she's a very murderous, villainous person. There's a lot of dark stuff that happens, but the movie has a good balance of things where it can have its dark moments, and it doesn't feel tonally out of nowhere with all the comedy that's also involved. The only negative I could give it, it's not tonally inconsistent, but when it gets serious, it never gets too serious. Like, the dark moments could be played even more. There's some like tragic or heartfelt moments that should be more emotional probably, but because it's a lighter, very fun, fluffy, entertaining movie, they'll have the dramatic moments, but they don't fully go for them. There's still a lot of stuff that really works, but I feel like they could have pushed the envelope a little bit more, considering it is actually pretty dark. Like, in terms of every Marvel movie, probably the darkest, probably the most weighty subject matter at times, but yeah, it could have been more, but it's like, trade that for the classic Marvel, just throw in more jokes, have it be fun. Movies in the Marvel universe just keep getting more funny and jokey, and it's hard to hate it when I find it funny. When it's entertaining and makes me laugh 90% of the time, I'll take it. Much like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, just make them fun, entertaining comedies with superheroes in it. And this feels so much like the Guardians of the Galaxy movies. Taika Waititi as a director felt like it's someone bringing a vision, much like James Gunn with Guardians of the Galaxy. He's doing something, he's making interesting choices. It doesn't feel like the bland, generic feeling some of the Marvel movies get, where it's very much of the same product. This feels like it's unique and fun and original. It's got some great musical flourishes. The visuals, they look very nice, bright, popping colors at times, very visually appealing. Amazing sets, like Asgard's always look cool, and then the other planet Thor ends up on, Jeff Goldblum's planet. Just great set design and look, a very unique looking movie that's just appealing visually. And the direction itself is really good, some nice cinematography, and the music also, I didn't catch a lot of it, but the musical scores I did catch in the movie, they were fun. It was kind of like synthy 80s almost sounding music. I was like, yes, this sort of electronic thing, this is good. The initial trailer I saw gave me like, oh, it's a Guardians vibe where it's going to be fun and poppy and colorful, and it didn't disappoint with the music, the visuals, everything. It feels unique in its own way. I appreciate that Marvel's not so hell-bent on having them be a factory product, all must be the same. With Guardians and now with this, they're starting to be a little more unique, have their own flavor and vibe, and I dig that a lot. It's really good and it works really well in this movie. And as far as the action goes, this movie's got some pretty good action by Marvel standards. It's all, yes, CGI enhanced, but you know, we got some cool visuals, we got some cool scenes, Hulk and Thor fighting out in a gladiator battle, that's awesome, and the rest of it is a lot of fun and entertaining action. And as I was talking about the dark tone and vibe, the movie also, it takes a few risks, it does some things that I didn't question, but I was like, oh, they're actually gonna go there, they're gonna do that. Like, I was surprised a few times, like, you think it's a Marvel, it's a superhero movie, you can just, okay, it's gonna go to A to B to C, and you can predict more or less everything that's going to happen. There's a few bumps in the road where I was surprised, like, oh, they're going to do that shit? Okay, I'm surprised. At times it almost felt like an anti-superhero film where they were doing things so counterintuitive to what you would expect. The whole climax of the movie, the solution, it reminded me of Doctor Strange, where it's like, you know how all these superhero movies usually go? Let's like do the opposite. Let's do something very different, and I appreciate that. Like, let's throw some conventions out the window and do things different. And I was like, yeah, that's pretty cool. Overall, I love Thor Ragnarok. It could have been a little bit better. The villain, Cate Blanchett, could have had a little bit more of an interesting role. They could have given her a little more to do. the dramatic, weighty moments could have been pushed a little bit further for maximum emotion. But aside from that, it's an incredibly fun, entertaining, somewhat subversive superhero movie. Not incredibly, but it does change some conventions I was expecting and like turn it on its head a little bit. And it's just fun. And that's what matters. I was incredibly entertained and just overall very much enjoyed the movie, had a great time. And it's one of the most entertaining, one of the best Marvel movies, one of the more unique, of its own, feels special vibe. And Thor finally has a great superhero movie for himself. He's always been great in the Avenger movies, and I've liked his other movies for the most part, but like this is a great Thor movie, and he just solidifies how great of a superhero he is, because Chris Hemsworth is fantastic as Thor, and he finally gets a movie to show how great he can be. I remember way back in the day when they first announced the Thor movie, and I was like, I don't want to see that. I don't want to see Thor. That's gonna be lame. This guy, where art thou with my hammer? And like, I was so worried, and like, I don't care about Thor. He's boring. He's whatever. At this point, Thor's like one of my all-time favorites. I love Thor. I can't get enough Thor. And we got Hulk here too, and I can't get enough Hulk. So it's just perfect. And Jeff Goldblum. So I adore the movie, but unlike Guardians of the Galaxy, which I should have been slightly more critical towards, I was a little bit too much blinded by like, oh, I love it, so it's all great. This could have been better. It's not quite perfect, but it comes close. This is a really damn good movie. It's one of the best Marvel movies by far. An amazing superhero movie. I would give Thor Ragnarok an A-. I think it's fantastic and I love it. And by the way, I know I was wearing a fucking Nightwing DC shirt to a Thor Marvel review. Deal with it. I don't own a Thor shirt yet. I will go look for one because he's awesome. Comment below, tell me your thoughts on Thor Ragnarok, and thanks for watching. I'll see you guys later.